We all know that speed on a football field is a game changer. But what most of us are uncomfortable with or don't know is how to develop speed. A lot of us actually accept that you either have it or you don't. Today I'm going to show you a couple of things that we've done to help improve speed so that our kids are fast on Friday nights. Hey coaches, Coach Martens here. Thank you for joining me on my channel today. This channel is dedicated to coaches looking for ways to help their athletes perform their best on game days. Today's topic is speed. Some view it as this mythical creature out there that either the athlete has it or they don't, and either the community or the town or the team has speed or they don't. But what we don't talk about is how can we actually develop it, and also how can we make sure that we're putting things in place in our program that actually helps develop speed. A conversation I remember having in my first year as being a head coach was with a community member that's been around the program for a very long time. This person has coached various sports. They were on the scoreboard for the football team for forever. And this person said to me, "You guys just don't have any speed." And that was a conversation that really made me stop and reflect, is what am I doing as a coach? Am I just waiting for that gifted class to come through that has speed? Or am I actively pursuing ways to help my athletes get faster? So I started where I think a lot of coaches need to start, and that's looking internally at what you already have in place to help do the thing that you want to do. And I believe a lot of programs have these main tools that they use to develop speed, and that's speed ladders, dot drills, just general conditioning in the weight room. And what I like to think about is how many programs have these things in place and are truly fast. And I truly believe that if speed ladders and dot drills and general conditioning and all those things truly made people fast, well, everybody would be fast. So that led me to try to explore new things and what else is out there. And I want to offer you a couple things that we've done that we felt took that next step in developing speed in our programs. Okay, so let's jump into the number one thing that I feel really connects and lays the foundation for speed. And it actually comes shortly after the conversation that I had with that community member. I met a guy named Tony Holler. And Tony Holler is really, really impactful and influential in the track and field community, but really mainly due to his emphasis on speed. And I feel that has a direct connection with football. So his football connection, in fact, Tony's written articles about connections between track and football. But his big emphasis is feed the cats, and feed the cats is a mindset and a mentality and a lifestyle, really, of never interfering with speed. So that's the first and foremost that drew me to him. Another thing he introduced me to was called the 80-20 rule. So the 80-20 principle talks about how can we get big results with just a couple of things that we do, and sprinting and speed is definitely one of those things. And also record, rank, publish, not to be confused with RPR. Record, rank, publish is really a huge connection that I've implemented in my football program. And that's sprint as often as possible, as fast as possible, staying as fresh as possible. So that's a huge emphasis. And I just want to show you the transition that we've made from 2017 to 2019 and even going into 2020 and what that's done. So, and really it comes back to this philosophy is if you don't measure it, how are you supposed to know it's improving? And that hit me right in the heart when I heard him say that. So right when we heard that for the first time, we started to record 40-yard dashes. We also do 10 flies. I'm just going to talk about the 40 today, especially from the connection of football players to the 40-yard dash. And this was our data. So this is the top few times that we got coming off of the summer of 2017. You notice 487, this was a really good running back of ours. Again, did a lot of good things, 485. We've got some good times going on here. Transitioning to 2019, so this was last summer, just kind of comparing these things. So this is my list, and it goes down to 509. And now looking at our list on the right here, a 509 puts you down here. And looking at the top time, 585 or 485, 487, that puts you right around this window. And we've got we haven't changed the way that we measure it. We just emphasize it more. So these are some huge progress that I felt we've made in only a couple years. And it has a combination to do with the athletes that we have, but it's also here we have it. I've tried to pick a few from each category. I mean, we've got that kid in 2017. Here's that 509 kid that was at the bottom of that list. Well, look at the progression through the years to 483. That's his best. The averages are also listed there. So taking a peek at where those kids were and where they are. We even have the middle school athlete that joined us in 2017 at 819. Again, obviously there lots of development is a factor, but this person's worked very hard towards improving mobility and movement, and now 2 years later down in the low sixes. And this athlete is still really young and has a lot of time to develop. But the same thing with this second athlete, looking at the progression from the 613 to a 494. And I'm not claiming that you're going to drop a full second. These are some significant changes, and obviously growth and development are a factor. But it's just all over the board. We've got some athletes that started off in a very low level of maturity and development and have improved drastically there. And we've also had some that were a little bit on the further end, and they've seen some huge cuts and huge gains in terms of their 40-yard dashes. But I'll tell you that what it comes down to is it came down to consistent recording, and we have spreadsheets that are available on our websites. Every kid knows how to access their times, and this is the everybody group. So this is the entire group that we measured and recorded in 2017 versus 2019. Again, you can see the changes there. But then I also wanted to see, okay, how about the top end kids? So the average top 10 for 2017 was a 521 versus 2019 is a 477. So looking at those comparisons and kind of more long-term effects, that's really where we saw some of the biggest improvements. So on to number 2. After talking with Tony and working through our record, rank, publish, and really emphasizing and preaching speed and monitoring it and measuring it as often as possible, led us down another rabbit hole, and it led me to meet people. Chris Korfus is another one, but Cal Dietz is the one I'm specifically going to talk about today. He's very, very involved in USA Hockey and Minnesota Hockey for training. He's one of the founders of RPR. He's got his own thing called XL Athlete, and he puts out a ton of free content. And his stuff is awesome. But what he said, I was hearing him speak at a clinic, and he mentioned having weak ankles is like having a governor set at 30 miles per hour on your car. That your car is never going to go past that 30, thinking it's going to break down, thinking things are going to just fall apart. And that's what weak ankles do. And it made me realize that maybe Lieutenant Dan had it right the whole time. You got to take care of your feet, take care of your ankles. So we started to jump down that rabbit hole and look at, okay, is it true? I mean, we like to find out, okay, is the stuff that we see in these clinics, is it valid? Is it true? So we immediately started recording sprinting, and this is a frame by frame. These are a couple of frames apart of one athlete just doing a typical 2-point start. So by the way, this athlete was very fast, very successful in both football and track and field. But if you notice the foot, when the foot strikes on the ground, notice that I'm looking at the heel drop. So the heel stays high, heel stays high, heel stays high, and that's giving him something very solid for him to push off of going through his acceleration. Athlete 2, and by the way, this athlete was very fast, but when that foot strikes, this is the first step, same sequence, same timing. When that foot strikes, notice the heel drop. The heel almost drops down to the ground because the foot is just the body's looking for something solid to push off of. And if it doesn't have that solid feeling, it's never going to be able to push, hence that governor analogy. So looking at the 2, we maybe were onto something in terms of the differences. So what Cal suggested and what we began to implement, and we actually created our own progression of, it calls a spring ankle progression. We looked at building a foundation, and it's literally building a foundation for speed, the feet and the ankles. And it's a series of phases that we have that allow us to, and it's instantly implementable, but it allows us to make sure that we're putting this ankle in those positions in sports that the body requires and that sports require. So again, it's a series of phases and progressions. And in fact, if you look down in the description, I offer that as a free progression to you that you can instantaneously implement in your weight rooms or at home. Again, this can be done anywhere, where the athletes can go through this progression, strengthen the ankles, and see change. And it only takes a couple of minutes. So there you go. Those are my 2 things that I think anybody could take and add to their program and what they're already doing, supplement their weight room, supplement all the stuff that they're doing, and instantaneously add an emphasis and change, because I've seen it and we've done it. So the record, the rank, publish, measuring 40-yard dashes, find something that you're going to measure in time and monitor over time, and you'll see that their mindsets, kids are competitive, athletes are competitive, they want to get better. So providing that environment for them to get better is a huge component of that philosophy. And then 2, that ankle progression of how to make sure that when that foot hits the ground, it's rock solid, has no squish, again, some people call it a tomato versus a bouncy ball, but having that bounce factor that as soon soon as it hits the ground, it's ready to push again. And thank you again for joining me on my channel today. If you want to know more about Cal Dietz and all the stuff that he's doing with RPR and with the spring ankle stuff, again, I'll post a couple videos of his that are some of my favorites. But also remember, make sure, coaches, that every decision that we make is geared towards helping our athletes perform their best on game days.